coach at Ole Miss, joining us on the Farm Bureau guest line. His team coming off a weekend series win over the South Carolina Gamecocks, and Rebels start Southeastern Conference play 2-1. Coach, congratulations! Good series win to start the season. How did you feel about your ball club this weekend?
Obviously, you want to win a weekend, start conference play, so that was good. You want to, get out of the gate well, on Friday night, and we were able to do that. So, a lot of good things. I don't know if we particularly played, real well on Friday, but I thought we played well enough and kind of a gutsy performance. I thought Saturday we played really well. And it's always a little disappointing to not finish the weekend. And, so I think when you win 2 out of 3 but lose the last one, it kind of leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth. But I think when you sit back 24 hours later and you look, I thought we beat a very good South Carolina team, so you got to be happy with it.
I guess it is kind of funny how that works. If you flipped the Saturday and Sunday games, it's almost like you would have woken up with a better feeling this morning than having it play out the way that it did.
Well, I think it's true. I mean, I think we're human, and you remember what just happened. And so when you don't, and it was really, to be honest with you, Richard, it was the first, time in quite some time where I thought, probably in, all phases of the game, we didn't play awful, but we just didn't play good. And you got to credit South Carolina because I think they are a good club, and I thought they pitched it really well. We really handled them on the mound for 18 innings. They got some hits and scored some runs. The 5 earned. Which isn't an awful day by any stretch of imagination on Sunday. But if you're going to do that, you got to score some more runs, and we weren't able to do either.
You used the word gutsy just a second ago when you were describing Friday night. I think it's a great word. We were talking earlier about that and said it was just kind of a grind on Friday night. And those are games that are hard to win, but if you look up at the end of the year and you're in position to do something great, you probably had to do that some along the way, right? Maybe not be your absolute best, but just figure out a way to win and kind of tough it out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways to look at it. And, the goal always, and we talk about it so much, and I know it sounds like coaches speak, but in our sport, especially in the SEC, there's such a thin line between each team and who's good and who's not. And the game is won by the team that plays the best, not necessarily the best team or the most talented team. So the best team at the end of the year is the team that went through the 30 games that plays the best. And and sometimes you won't be at your best. You just need to be better than the team in the other dugout. And I thought we made some mistakes. We could have made it a lot easier on ourselves on Friday, but we didn't let it blow up in our face either. So when we didn't make a play or didn't make a pitch or didn't have a great at bat, I thought we were able to minimize and stay in the game. I thought that's what Gunnar Dennis did. I thought he was able to stay in the game and continue to make pitches and get off the field. We were able to, hold it together on the mound as well.
I know we've talked about pitching some over the last month, 5 weeks or so, but I feel like your bullpen is really starting to become a story. Over the course of 3 games, the bullpen gives up 1 run all weekend long. And you had some guys that maybe, and I'm thinking specifically about yesterday's game with Kyler Carmack, who had not been great in their first outing or two, came in and really gave you some good and important innings and were able to put zeros up.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up going, almost more than half the game, 4 2/3 to be exact, with no runs out of the bullpen yesterday. And that can help you on Sunday, but it can help you in any phase. I thought, on Friday, I think it was Morrell that came in, looked
right.
really good. Then we went Nichols after him, and I think he might have been 3 up, 3 down. It may have been 3 punch outs, and then they let off, the 8th with a double, and then I think another hit or maybe an HBP. They got another base runner, and then we brought in Spencer that hasn't pitched more than the max in an outing has been an inning, and he came in and got 5 outs. And so, we've done it a lot of different ways, and we got a lot of different ways to go in the bullpen. And you're right, they have been really good, and not just this weekend, but really since we started the season, the bullpen.
I know you're not going to like this question because you have traditionally not liked comparing players from other teams. So I'm setting this up in advance, but there's a
All right.
reason. So, is there a closer that you have had in the past that Connor Spencer reminds you of? And I ask that because you've had guys that look a lot different through the years, whether it's a Scott Biddle that's filling a closer's role or one of these big arms. Is Connor Spencer similar to anybody that you've had that kind of pops into your mind?
And the thing I think I cringe in answering those things because guys are still developing, they're still emerging, they're still becoming who they're going to become. I think it's a lot easier to say hey, compare Stephen Head to Scott Biddle, or guys that
Sure.
they're done and you can look at their numbers and what they've done. I think to this point, being more of a he's only been a one inning guy, but does he become can you stretch him a little longer? We haven't done that, like I mentioned. But I think the fastball's got a ton of swing and miss. If I had to pick somebody, I would probably pick maybe a guy like Caracci or somebody like that had a ton of swing and miss from a fastball, from a reliever standpoint. Maybe even a TJ Bean, who was probably similar too. Now again, different structure. I think they go about it different way. And TJ obviously had some length to him because he became a Friday night starter the next year. But I think what makes Connor special is there's just so much swing and miss from the fastball.
So is his fastball one of those high spin rate fastballs that tends to stay on plane? Is that what gets?
Well,
that
it's not so much the spin rate. It's just a lot is the spin and the tilt, and it's a lot of ride. So it's not only firm where usually it's in the mid 90s and maybe even a tick faster than that some days. But there's a lot of ride to that fastball. So a lot of guys getting under it, and you can't catch up to it.
Big week coming up. You go to Pearl tomorrow night to face a good Southern Miss team that's playing well, coming off of they beat Alabama last week in the midweek, and then got a sweep in conference play, and then got to go on the road in SEC play for a Tennessee team that lost a couple at Alabama this weekend. Certainly, it's a grind, and you've talked about the marathon that conference play is, but some big opportunities for you as well.
No doubt, and this is the SEC. Every weekend you're playing a ranked opponent. You're playing the nicest and toughest venues in the country. And this is why you come to this league to be able to compete and, like you said, get those opportunities. But it makes it especially tough week when you play a Southern Miss team. That's as good and as good as anybody in the Southeastern Conference, and you're going to be playing them on Tuesday night. But it's good to play an in-state rival, to go down to the Jackson area to play in that nice stadium, and so I think we look forward to it. I think it's exciting for the guys.
Coach, a couple of quick ones as we wrap things up. Just a thought on Andrew Fisher. He has the 3 home run game on Saturday, and kind of what he has settled into for you as a guy that's in his first year in your program.
Well, obviously he's been a force for us offensively and has played really good defense. But he's also been a great leader. And, one of the things that I think you hope for when you get a kid that transfers into your program, not only do you hope that they perform on the field, and he certainly has done that, but he's been great in the locker room and the dugout. He's a great kid.
Pitching plan for tomorrow night against Southern Miss?
We'll go with Riley Maddox, who's thrown most of the Tuesdays probably to this point. Jackson Prep star from a few years ago that's been really good for us. And then we'll go the same rotation on the weekend with Dennis, Doyle, and Saunier.
And then finally, any update on JT Quinn, or too soon to know?
Yeah, he met with the doctor today, and it looks like it's a strained oblique. So that's unfortunate. That injury. It's kind of like the oblique for a pitcher is kind of like the hamstring for a runner, and you got to take some time off to let that heal because those can flare up and really last a long time. So he's going to be out for indefinitely.
Was that
he'll be back before. He'll pitch before the season's out, but he won't pitch this weekend.
Yeah. Was that just kind of a freak deal where he felt fine and then all of a sudden just kind of on that last bullpen pitch?
Last pitch in the bullpen. Never, it's unfortunate. He was coming in the game. We went out there, and as I walked out there, you could see something must have happened in his last throw because he was throwing that pitch and coming in the game there in the fifth, and then we called down to the bullpen. I mentioned to the umpire I was going to make a pitching change, and it's just a bad situation.
Coach, thanks so much for your time. Wish you all the best.
Thanks, Richard.
Mike Bianco, head baseball coach at Ole Miss, joining us on the Farm